Thank you for dinner. I shifted toward my truck. This wasn't so terrible. Wasn't so terrible? She held her torso as she burst out laughing. Your game is stellar, Bennett. My game is on a long hiatus, and I don't think game is necessary for what we're doing. Good night, I said before she grabbed my arm. I have an idea. This was good practice for friendly conversation, but if we kiss for the first time in front of everyone, it's going to look forced, no? I still don't see why we'd have to, but probably if we did, it would look awkward as fuck. Well, why don't we get it out of the way now? My brows jumped. This woman was full of surprises. You want a kiss. Now, in a parking lot. No one is really out here, and if we fumble now, it's not like anyone will notice or care. Come on, she purred, inching closer to me. My eyes fell to her mouth as it curved into a slow, wicked grin. You know what they say about that line between love and hate? What's that? I rasped, my mouth dry and my palms damp like I was a 35-year-old teenager. She got a rise out of me in more ways than one when we were young, but I could never see past the lifelong animosity. Tonight, we'd managed to take that out of the equation. And nothing was stopping me from tasting the lips I'd wanted for longer than I cared to remember. It's thin. Really thin, she whispered, sliding her hand to the back of my neck and pulling my mouth toward hers. She brushed my lips with a feather-light kiss and leaned in for another when I didn't pull away. Her mouth was warm, her lips pillow-soft. If we were on a bad decision streak anyway, I wasn't settling for a cheap little kiss after all this time. I speared a hand into her hair and hauled her to me, gliding my tongue along her bottom lip until she opened her mouth on a surprised moan. Her arms looped around my neck as I pulled her closer, her full breasts pressing against me as the kiss went from tentative to desperate. I licked inside her mouth with long strokes, drinking it all in to quench the thirst I'd never wanted to acknowledge. A few weeks ago, if anyone told me I'd be making out with Olivia in a restaurant parking lot, I would have sworn they were delusional. Not because I never wanted to, because even when I couldn't stand her, I wanted her. Part of me hoped this was a trick, that she'd stop the kiss and say, "Gotcha," with a wink, because if Olivia wanted me too, really wanted me, then I was powerless. There would be no way I'd be able to resist. Tension spilled out into mindless passion as my hand traveled down her hips, while Olivia grabbed my ass. Her nails scraped against my denim-covered skin and coaxed a tortured groan to rise from my throat. I was hard to the point of pain and 2 seconds away from opening her car door and pushing her into the back seat. Every time one of us would back away, the other would go in faster and harder. The push and pull were familiar. Both of us had always wanted the last word, but this game of dominance was a new one, and I liked. Hell, I fucking loved it. Instead of winning whatever stupid argument we'd fallen into, I wanted to claim her in another way, make her scream and writhe beneath me until she was nothing but a little puddle of Olivia. The thought made my blood run a little cold, but not enough to douse the scorching heat between us. If we were supposed to act like lovers who couldn't keep their hands off each other, we'd have no problem convincing everyone on Saturday, since I wasn't sure how I'd stop touching her now. The blaring of a horn made us break apart. I wasn't sure if it was at us or not, but it was enough of a shock to bring us panting back to reality. Olivia clutched my biceps, gulping while she caught her breath. Her lips were swollen and the rest of her lipstick was smeared across her mouth. While it was mostly dark, other than a few street lamps, I spied the soft vulnerability in her hooded eyes. It was as unmistakable as it was breathtaking. What was that about my game? For once, I'd managed to shut her up, and my chest swelled with pride. I think, she began, running a hand through her hair. I think we'll be fine on Saturday. You focus on the cake, I'll focus on the show. Got it? She grinned, but her words came out stunted and shaky. Pride pumped through my veins as my head spun with lust. My teenage fantasy had come true, and the reality was 1,000 times better than anything I'd conjured in my silly brain back then. Good night, Tyler. She turned before I could reply, almost jumping into the driver's seat and peeling out of the parking lot. I rubbed the back of my neck, unable to stop the wide grin causing my cheeks to ache. When I stepped into the cab and started the engine, reality set in. This game of pretend already felt too real.